Okay, you say your name, sir?
Gary Simon.
Gary Simon. Okay. And what are we doing here today, Mr. Simon?
Well, we are here to celebrate the raising of the Juneteenth flag here with Michael Harris's group, and I am here to just support the raising of the flag.
All right. And so you're having a festival, a celebration for Juneteenth. Can you just tell us a little bit about that and how long you've been doing that?
Right. Well, my Sacramento Juneteenth Incorporated has been producing Sacramento's annual Juneteenth festival for the last 22 years. This will be our 22nd year. We are planning to just celebrate the ending of those that were enslaved, the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation to be exact. And there's a history behind that because everyone wasn't freed at the same time. But we'll talk about that and discuss that at the festival with our educational theaters and so forth. But our dates, let me get back to our dates. In addition to the annual festival, this year we've added our second annual Juneteenth Black Legends Golf Tournament, which will happen on the 7th of June out at Bing Maloney. And from there, we go to our VIP reception where we host our sponsors and the mayor and city council and folks. And that's on the 19th in partnership with the California State Library. And then we move into our Friday night, June 20th, our Gospel Under the Stars concert, where we have some of the best local talent as well as a few Bay Area acts. From there, we go to Saturday morning. Saturday morning at 9 a.m., we do what we call our Juneteenth Soul Parade. The parade, of course, is a historic component of Juneteenth because after those enslaved folks found out that they were freed, they, of course, paraded around that plantation in celebration of that. So we start our Juneteenth Soul Parade at 9 a.m., and that's in William Land Park as well, followed by the festival. This year, our theme is the Southern Soul Juneteenth Festival. So we will host legendary Southern Soul music icon TK Soul. So we're flying him in from Louisiana to give us some of that Southern Soul sound. I label him as the King George before King George. So we're looking for him to bring a nice crowd and as well as to entertain us. And then we talk about some of that Southern history. I myself am from Virginia. So I know in Virginia we didn't celebrate Juneteenth because, of course, the white folks wasn't happy about Negroes being freed. So we never got that part. But what we're doing on Saturday after the parade, we will, of course, host the festival itself, consisting of what we're calling our educational and arts pavilion. Sojourner Truth Museum will be there exhibiting as well as educational seminars throughout the day. With that, we'll also have our fashion show. Now, fashion shows were also a key component or a historical component of Juneteenth because once those folks found out they were freed, those enslaved found out they were freed, they went into the master's house and put on the clothes and paraded around that plantation. So those are two of the historical components that we will have again this year. Celebration Arts. Celebration Arts, which is our local theatrical company, will perform a Juneteenth themed play at the park as well. And then, of course, the entertainment. We've got local bands, Cosmic Roots, Prophecy, Flyism Uncensored, Sawana Stanley, and several others, Prophecy as well. I mentioned Prophecy already, but we've got entertainment, food vendors, food trucks. So it's going to be a great time out at Juneteenth. And I cannot forget about the after party. So after our 3 days or 4 days of celebrating Juneteenth, we'll do our Juneteenth Southern Soul after party. That starts at 8 p.m. Featuring Decatur Black, another young black Southern Soul artist out of Atlanta, Georgia. So he'll be performing live with. So we're going to feed the folks, give you a little adult beverages, and we're just going to have a Southern Soul after party. That starts at 8 p.m. at the Mandarin Event Center. So we've got a lot going on, man. It's going to be a long week beginning with this Saturday's golf tournament, but we're excited about it, and we're glad that Sacramento is supporting Juneteenth. We actually coordinated with other producers of Juneteenth to create a Juneteenth calendar. So on that calendar, we are now the only city that celebrates Juneteenth month. So we've got a month's worth of Juneteenth celebrations here in Sacramento. Okay.
One, let's talk about reparations. Just give us some of your brief thoughts on, reparations due, and then I would like to ask you a question in terms of why you start Juneteenth, and then where people can find you. So,
Okay.
first question, reparations.
Reparations are, well, first of all, let's start with this. They gave reparations to the Native Americans. They gave them to the Chinese, or the Japanese, I should say, and those are only two in history that I can think of off the top of my head. Now, my question would be, well, what is the cost, or what's the value of what these enslaved folks have done for America? I don't know. I believe in reparations, but quite honestly, I don't think this government will move that far. Why did I start doing what I'm doing? I started doing what I'm doing out of the need, if you will. When I came to California in 1996, there was no real Juneteenth celebration. So I felt that at the time I was director of multicultural affairs for Visit Sacramento. So that was within the scope of what I could do. It wasn't in my job description, but I created and added that component. So we started producing Juneteenth because there was no Juneteenth celebration acknowledging the contributions of African Americans at the time. So I was in a position to do it, so I did it.
All right, and so where can people find more information about
All of this information and our organizational information, tickets to the parties and festivals are all at our website, Sacramento Juneteenth Inc. Inc.org. Sacramento Juneteenth Inc.org. All right.
a little bit? All right. Can you please say your name, sir?
Michael Harris.
Michael Harris, okay. Brother Harris, what are we doing out here today?
Today is the National Juneteenth flag raising ceremony. At noon, all across the nation, we're raising the flag of Juneteenth. And here in the city of Sacramento, where I was born, the word has not gotten out much, but we are free, and Juneteenth is a federal holiday, and we are still working to make it a holiday in the city of Sacramento.
Okay, so what has been the challenge in terms of getting the holiday recognized here in Sacramento?
Well, the main challenge is apathy, and it gets pushed to the side because there's other priorities, and the community, in my opinion, it's something that's important because it's not understood, and so we don't talk about wanting Juneteenth as a holiday, as a community.
Okay. So let's get into the reparations conversation. I know, if I'm correct, you showed at one of the hearings for I believe it was SB 518 and SB 437. I don't know
Yes.
if you recall that.
Yeah, yeah.
So currently there's some legislation.
Michael Harris with the California Juneteenth Observance Foundation, the ones that put Juneteenth as a federal holiday. Definitely supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else in support of SB?
Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Emend the Mass Media Group on all of our platforms where we do disseminate this information. It is free and no cost to you. So once again, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. All right, family? Let's continue. That's happening right now on a state level for reparations. So one is the bill for 518 and 437. There's actually another bill. I don't know if you're familiar with Bill Assaley, the Republican, who was introducing another reparations bill for the California American Freedmen Affairs Agency. That one, unfortunately, hasn't been introduced. We don't think it's going to get introduced this year, but there's just seemed like there's some kind of contradictions right now in terms of some bills that are being introduced and some that haven't been introduced. So by that, I guess my first question to you is, why do you currently support, and that's by Dr. Akilah Weber, for the bills 518 to set up the Bureau for Descendants. So one, why do you support that bill? And also there's another bill, SB 437. and if you support that bill to do further research on reparations eligibility.
Well, yeah, I follow the legislature. There's roughly 1,500 bills that are being looked at. The three bills referenced, one that was introduced by a member who's no longer a member. He was recruited by President Trump to take another position. So his bill, no other member took the bill up. So, that bill is no longer in existence, is my understanding. The other two bills that you referred to I support both of them because as, a historian, it's important to have the documentation proper, and the only thing that's recognized by the California state legislature is documentation that they have approved. Other documentation has no standing in the state legislature. So until there's an actual process that the state legislature approves, there is no process. And so that's what these two bills are chipping away at, what is a very large and contentious issue. And yes, I support both the bills. The bill that is given $6 million, some people think that's a lot of money, but when you're talking about a study with professors at colleges and, legislators, staff time, it's not a lot of money, but they should and could figure it out in the time frame that they're talking about. And the other bill, 437, right now, it's the purpose and function of that is escaping my mind right now. But both bills, my understanding is that they're going to the floor of the Senate. They passed appropriations, and once it passes the Senate side, it goes to the Assembly side and starts all over again, the process. But it's essential that the official data is used if the state of California ever is going to acknowledge what happened here in the state of California since, well, I start the clock at 1846 when it's now under American rule, military rule. And then in September 9th, 1850 is when California became a state. And so we'll be hosting the 1875 party at the state capitol. As a historian, it's important to have the primary source documentation of how California became a state, 1850 compromise. And that begins the clock on when California is responsible for what has happened here in California. You're never going to get California legislature to acknowledge what happened in Arkansas. And quite frankly, it makes no sense to talk about all that happened in other states because it's not germane to the state of California. It's important to a lot of people, yes, but this is not the Washington, D.C. is the place to talk about what happens in other states in the whole United States. But California state legislature is responsible for California. And, I understand very emotions get involved. But the reality is, until we focus and have a strong, unified voice, we're never going to get reparative justice. Because people have been doing this stuff. When I was in junior in high school, I remember the first time I heard reparations. Jahahara Kevilan was singing, "Africa will soon be free. Tomorrow, victory. Yeah, yeah, yeah." And he was with In Cobra, and they came from Chicago, and they were talking all kind of stuff. And I was like, what are y'all talking about? This is when I was, in high school. This was 1980. So the reparations movement is not new. And it's hopefully it will happen in my lifetime. But while we're divided and conquered, we don't have the same information. We're not going to come to the same conclusion. And again, we won't even acknowledge the slavery that happened right here in Sacramento. And we talk about reparations somewhere else. It's like, what happened right here in Sacramento County? How do you have the man that built the first black church ended up dead after freeing somebody out of slavery? And we can't articulate that, but we want reparations. It makes no sense. But I'll stop there. I think I answered your questions.
All right. And just one last thing, man. If you want, where can people reach you, etc.?
Well,
More information.
we have set up a website, Juneteenth, California. Like I said, the idea that you skip over 1865 where we become human beings and we get beyond Juneteenth with the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, absent really understanding that, I don't see how you can form your lips to say reparations. I mean, that's just me personally, because you don't have legal standing to be a human being. Until 1865, that began that process. So how do you form your lips to say reparations and you can't celebrate Juneteenth? Makes no sense to me.